Y'all, would you look at this right here? You see this? Y'all see this? Look, I know I was gone for a little bit. I took a couple of days off, but I wasn't expecting people to start acting a whole damn asshole the moment I take a couple of days off work to get some things together for the show. That's all I was doing. And I come back and it looks like Symone Sanders went from kind of sort of selling out to selling all the way out. She's selling everything, including the kitchen sink. And why am I saying this? Well, because according to, and this is about an article by the AP, Biden hired Symone Sanders. And according to this, it adds diversity to the bid. There are so many problems with this. I honestly don't even know where to start. I mean, for those of you who don't know, let's start from the very beginning. For those of you who don't know, Symone Sanders is actually formerly Bernie Sanders' press secretary. But she kind of had more roles than that, because obviously she would frequently appear on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News to argue in favor of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016. She would also introduce him at rallies and a lot of the times be a liaison between his campaign, Black Lives Matters, and other minority activist groups. Now, here's where it gets a little bit dicey. She leaves inexplicably out of nowhere. It didn't make any sense. The campaign was actually ramping up. She left literally in the most important part of the campaign. Didn't give a reason why. It was somewhat innocuous. It was a big deal, but it was somewhat innocuous. It didn't really get covered a lot in the media. And the reason why it didn't get covered a lot is probably because of where she went next. Because a lot of you all may know who Symone is from her appearances on CNN, because she is now a hired contributor. Now, I have it from a good source within the last Bernie Sanders campaign that it was not a coincidence that Donna Brazile gets fired from CNN. Symone Sanders steps down almost right after that. And then she slides right into the position, the contributor spot that Donna Brazile had. Oh, yes, because that's how it works. Now, some people would say, they would clap and applaud Symone because she has achieved, quote unquote, a lot at a very young age. She's from Nebraska, but both of her parents, to my understanding, are PhDs. They're both relatively successful. And unfortunately, the truth of the matter is, as a Black man, it breaks my heart seeing things like this. It does. Because as I've always said, as a person who's been involved in politics, I think Symone's about 27, 28. I'm 30. I've been involved in politics since my early 20s, and I've been, studying it really since high school. And I've been involved with the people, like the people who make things go, not like tangentially running one campaign to the other. I'm talking about Democratic Party chair people, consultants, et cetera, et cetera. This is what they do to us. They hand us pretty titles. They offer us a lot of money. In that way, they control your voice. If you've noticed, what's that man's name from Maryland, from Baltimore? He was a famous Black Lives Matter activist. I think he started with a D. But it's like D-Ron or D-Ran or D-Aaron or something to that extent. He's very popular on Twitter as well. But he got bought off. Why do you think he's been a little bit more quiet lately? Hasn't been as many rallies lately. Wasn't really, he was a supporter of Ben Jealous in Maryland, but he wasn't really like, balls to the wall, super activist, standing in front of the camera with his chest puffed out at police officers, which is what the picture that people know him for. D-Ray, that's his name, D-Ray. But he got, a nice little title now. He gets a nice little paycheck from the state of Maryland. You know, he works in the government. And essentially, now, especially for people who haven't had anything, that is the way that Black people oftentimes get co-opted. They offer us all of the things that we have been systemically denied for our entire lives, and for generations. They offer you a chance to put your family in a position that most likely your family has never been in. And then, you know, especially because that's how it was bred in our culture, mid 80s into the 90s, we become hyper competitive and crabs in a bucket. And so it actually makes them believe that they're better, right? And that's actually how they will sell themselves, as being a better person based off of having a pretty title given by some, you know, corporation or brand. And then you get some money given by that corporation or brand. But what people also haven't realized is there's not a lot of quote unquote Black people who end up rising above that corporation once they give you that money, because they only are really giving you enough for you to start a certain lifestyle and for you to have the necessity to maintain that lifestyle. So that's why I said it's a little bit heartbreaking to see what Symone Sanders is doing and has done. Now, I want to get into this article a little bit, where it says that Joe Biden has hired Symone Sanders, a prominent African-American political strategist. That's not true. She's not a political strategist. She was a national coordinator she was a national press secretary for Bernie Sanders, and she had no other major political role before that. And that's just a fact. She's not a strategist. And I just want to be clear about that, but that's what they're pitching her as, but if say, for example, Tulsi hired Symone, and if she wasn't part of the establishment, it would be hires an inexperienced so-called self-acclaimed strategist. That's what it would say if it was Tulsi hiring her. But let's continue. And Symone will be a senior advisor on a newly launched presidential campaign. The move adds a younger, diverse voice to Biden's cadre of top advisors, which has been dominated by older white men. It suggests Biden is seeking to broaden his appeal to a new generation of Democrats. Sanders, 29, so she's 29 years old, rose to prominence during the 2016 campaign as press secretary for Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. She then became a high-profile political analyst on CNN and is likely to be a forceful Biden defender on television. First of all, she wasn't all that good. She wasn't all that good at her job as press secretary, so let me be honest with you there. But she's a token, right? I think that we can all we're pretty blunt here. She's a token. She's being like, after Biden refused to apologize for what he did and what the Senate Judiciary Committee did to Anita Hill after the Clarence Thomas sexual harassment allegations. Anita Hill, a Black woman, was basically trampled on by 14 men with Joe Biden at the helm. And he finally, even though he's had 15 years to apologize to what happened to Anita Hill, guess what he did? He called her and said, "I'm sorry for what happened to you. Not I'm sorry for what I allowed to happen in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Not that he's sorry for never holding Clarence Thomas accountable, or never even really having a chance, or never ever really giving an effort to hold Clarence Thomas accountable. Not reining in his, elitist white male senators, who are obviously projecting and protecting the power structure that exists today, and existed even more so back then, where old white rich men, especially senators, could get away with what the hell they wanted to, especially when it came to sexually harassing or sexually assaulting women, especially women of color. He didn't even apologize when he called. He didn't even apologize. I mean, and we can go on for days about the crime bill and the omnibus, but like we can go on for days about that stuff. But just for as far as Symone Sanders as a black woman, this man had a chance to somewhat make things right just a couple of weeks ago. You know what? I don't like the fact that it was clearly a political calculation for him to call Anita Hill and quote unquote apologize. But if he would have legitimately apologized, I might have been like, I mean, I guess he apologized, you know, it's better than nothing. But he didn't even set a good example by using his profile to say, I'm unequivocally apologizing. What I did and what that Senate Judiciary Committee did to Anita Hill was wrong. He didn't say that. He said, I'm sorry for what happened to you. I'm sorry for you being, I'm thankful for you being a prominent voice when it comes to sexual harassment. Really? He didn't even apologize to the women that he felt he had sexually harassed them before. His non-apology, remember that video? I don't think that it takes a 29-year-old black woman, because if it does take that, then it's not genuine. But it shouldn't take a 29-year-old black establishment analyst for him to know, maybe I should apologize. Maybe the women that are offended by my behavior and had every right to be that, because we saw some of the pictures, maybe I should apologize to them genuinely. If it takes you a 29-year-old quote unquote political strategist / advisor to tell you that, you shouldn't be the president. You shouldn't be the president. That's sad. It's sad because Symone Sanders is selling herself out. This is the same woman who attacked everyone who critiqued Kamala Harris, the black people who critiqued Kamala Harris. Basically, she called us sexist, said we were shooting ourselves in the foot, that we shouldn't be speaking on black women, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, even though we were pointing specifically to policies. And then she does this. Why not work for the black woman? Well, I probably doesn't want you, to be honest with you, because they know your limited experience. They know. But you think you're going to get some pull? No, it might look nice on a political resume. And don't get it twisted, people. I'm actually not one to shame people who, like staffers who are struggling and they're just trying to make ends meet because their career is in politics and they have to work for a campaign that they may not necessarily like at the lower levels, maybe a field director or something like that. I get that. I really do. However, with that being said, that is not Symone Sanders. Symone Sanders is damn near, if not already, a millionaire because she is contracted, or was at least, by CNN as a consistent and regular contributor. And she doesn't mind boasting and bragging about it on her Instagram. Never talking about the issues there, though. Just talking about herself and how great she is. You should look her Instagram up. It's hilarious. Because she doesn't know about the issues. She's not actually a strategist. If she's strategizing, she's trying to strategize of how to Biden to basically convince people that on the surface he's changed. That would be her purpose. Here's how to navigate your lies to penetrate the consciousness of the public. That is what her job would be. That's a sellout. Now, the last thing is, this basically confirms everything that we had thought about Symone Sanders during the Bernie Sanders 2016 campaign. I had said very early on, I'm like, there is something off about this woman. I can't really put my finger on it, but I've heard murmurs from several different people that she's kind of disconnected from the campaign, that she kind of does her own thing, that sometimes she isn't locked up with it. And then she kept kind of like, she kind of refused to hold Hillary accountable, and she didn't do that good of a job boosting Bernie, in my humble opinion, the way that you would have expected her to. I think Brianne Gray Joy, or Joy Gray, excuse me, I always call her Gray Joy. Joy Gray does a fantastic job of doing that. Symone did not. I'm not worried where Bree is going to go after she gets done with Sanders' campaign, nor do I expect her to quit 2-3 months before some of the most important elections to come. But that is what Symone Sanders did. So this is confirmation, in my opinion, of the speculation that she had always been establishment, that she had always been gunning for the next position, for the next paycheck, and that she only uses our issues as a stepping stone to further her personal career. And in my opinion, with all the non-apologies from Joe Biden, the inaction, the constant and regular inaction, like it's normal for him to not do anything to reconcile what he's done in the past. It looks like a play to get a token black person who you know will play ball on your campaign. And Symone, it looks like you're just selling out for a check. And because that's exactly what you're doing. Overall, just not a good look. I'd love to know what your thoughts are. So like the video, share it, subscribe, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching that segment of Mika Says Sukasa. Don't forget to join us on Roku and catch our Roku exclusives. Also, help us reach our goal of 500 patrons on Patreon. You can also follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and JustNForm.com. But more than anything else, always remember, find your balance. Peace.